So I got something super cool for you today on District Drama. Have you heard the news about that Survivor guy and his much younger boyfriend?
Oh my god, yes! Bret, LaBelle, and Chris Stanley, right? I've been, following this whole situation, and it's absolutely wild that they've split up after nearly 4 years together.
Wait. Fill me in on the details. I know they were this cute couple with a massive age gap, but what exactly happened?
So basically, these two were the definition of unlikely couple goals. You've got Bret, who's 51 and was on Survivor, Millennials versus Generation X, and then there's Chris, or StanChris as everyone calls him, who's this 25-year-old TikTok sensation. They had this whole 27-year age difference thing going on that had everyone talking.
Oh, and they just announced they're breaking up after all this time defying the odds?
Yeah, exactly. They totally called it quits, and the internet is kind of losing it because, you know what I mean, they were this power couple that nobody expected to work in the first place, but somehow they made it work for 4 whole years.
So, how did these two even get together in the first place? I'm really curious about how someone with such a huge age gap actually connects, you know?
Oh, it's actually a pretty sweet story. So back in 2016, Bret was on Survivor, Millennials versus Gen X, right? And he was this Boston police lieutenant who was actually, he came out as gay during the show in this really emotional confessional moment. It was super touching and everyone was reaching for tissues, you know what I mean?
Wait, he came out during the actual show? That's pretty brave, especially for someone in law enforcement.
Totally brave. And then fast forward to 2021, during the height of the pandemic when we were all just stuck at home, binge watching whatever we could find. Chris was apparently going through old Survivor seasons and completely fell for Bret's his whole vibe and charm.
So he just reached out to him?
Exactly. He literally just slid into Bret's Instagram DMs. How bold is that? This Gen Z TikToker with this massive following just shoots his shot with a guy 27 years older than him. And get this, Chris was actually the one who pursued Bret, not the other way around.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of romantic in a modern way, right? Like a digital meet cute.
Right? And they kept it pretty low-key at first, but by January 2023, they went Instagram official. Bret was sharing these super cozy photos with Chris and friends, and then in April, he posted this really sweet birthday tribute to Chris. They even started a joint Instagram account called Chris and Bret, where they'd share all their couple adventures and stuff. It was literally like watching a rom-com play out on social media.
Social media romance at its finest. Sliding into DMs actually worked for once. So, the elephant in the room here is this massive age gap between them, right? I mean, 27 years that's quite a difference.
Oh my god, yes. So Bret is 51 and Chris is only 25, which is just, it's wild when you think about it. When Survivor first premiered, Bret was probably sitting there watching it live while Chris was barely learning the alphabet. You know what I mean? It's actually kind of funny when you put it into perspective like that.
I can only imagine the kind of assumptions people must have made about them as a couple.
Oh, you have no idea! The internet was absolutely buzzing about it. Chris actually told The Advocate last year that people would literally think Bret was his dad sometimes. And others would just assume he was only with Bret for money, which is so ridiculous and honestly pretty offensive.
Wow, that's pretty harsh. How did they deal with all that scrutiny?
That's what's so amazing about them. They just handled it with such humor and grace. Chris even had to shut down these wild accusations that he was being groomed or whatever. He was like, "Hello, I pursued him." And they would just laugh about these awkward moments together.
Do you have an example of how they dealt with it? I'm curious.
Oh, there was this absolutely hilarious story from December 2023. They were buying a Christmas tree together and the cashier totally thought they were father and son. And when Chris insisted on paying, the cashier got all excited thinking it was this sweet moment of a son treating his dad. Chris shared the whole cringeworthy experience on TikTok.
Oh my god, that's so awkward. What did they do?
Instead of getting all offended or mad about it, they just laughed it off. Can you imagine? If that happened to me on 17th Street, I'd be mortified, but they just turned it into content. That's relationship goals right there. Being able to take the weird comments and just roll with them.
I think that says a lot about their connection, actually. Being able to laugh off those assumptions instead of letting them get to you.
Absolutely. And And I think that's why so many people found them so refreshing as a couple. They were just like, yeah, there's an age gap. So what? They didn't try to hide it or make excuses for it. They were just two people who genuinely cared about each other despite their differences, you know? It was actually pretty inspiring to see them just own their relationship like that.
So, let's talk about the actual breakup announcement. When did this all come out? Because I feel like this was like super recent, right?
Oh yeah, totally recent. So basically, Bret dropped this absolute bombshell on Instagram just a couple days ago. April 28th to be exact. And the way he announced it was actually really, like, surprisingly classy. You know what I mean? He wrote this post that was just, it was heartbreaking but also really respectful.
Oh, do you remember what he said exactly?
Yes, I literally screenshot it because it was so, like, poignant. He wrote something like, "Sometimes love means letting go. Chris and I have shared so many memories, laughter, and growth together, and I will always be grateful for that." And then he went on to say that while they're going in different directions now, the care and respect are still there. He even ended it wishing Chris nothing but happiness, love, and success. Like, that's the most mature breakup post I've ever seen on social media.
That's actually really sweet. Did Chris respond to that at all?
Oh, you know, Chris wasn't going to let Bret have the last word. He made this whole YouTube video giving his side of the story. And what's really interesting is that there was no drama, no tea to spill. He was just like, we kind of just grew apart slowly. Nothing really happened. We're still on good terms.
Wow, that's actually refreshing compared to most celebrity breakups we cover on District Drama.
Right? Usually we're here dissecting who cheated on who or which party threw the other's clothes out the window. But this was just so adult. Chris even shared this message that Bret sent him after they broke up, and I swear it almost made me cry. Bret told him, "It sucks. It took me 47 years to find a relationship this good, and for you, it's your first. I'm gonna miss you, man."
Oh my God, that's actually really sad.
I know. Like, if that doesn't hit you right in the feels, check your pulse. It's so rare to see a breakup where both parties are being so mature and respectful about the whole thing. No shade throwing, no cryptic posts, no deleting all their photos together. Just two people acknowledging that sometimes relationships don't work out even when there's still love there, you know?
It sounds like they're setting the gold standard for how to handle a public breakup.
Absolutely. And I think that's why people are so invested in this story. Like, we're all so used to messy, dramatic splits that when we see something this amicable, it's almost more heartbreaking because you can tell they still really care about each other, but sometimes that's just not enough.
So, what do you think actually caused the split? I mean, they're being super classy about it, but there's always more to the story, right?
Honestly, that's what I've been wondering too. Like, if this were a Survivor Tribal Council, I'd be whispering blindside faster than you can say Jeff Probst. But, and this is the weird part, there doesn't seem to be any smoking gun here. No dramatic revelation or some huge fight that ended it all, you know?
Do you think the age gap might have finally caught up to them? I mean, 27 years that's a lot.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. Like, when you really break it down, they're at completely different life stages, right? Bret's 51, he's probably thinking about, I don't know, maybe settling down even more, enjoying the quieter life. And Chris is just 25. He's still got that whole, like, finding yourself energy going on.
I can see that. It must be hard when one person might want to Netflix and chill while the other wants to hit up clubs and create TikToks all night.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe it's also just about, like, different priorities. I mean, Chris is building this whole social media empire with his followers, and Bret's probably got a totally different perspective on life after being in law enforcement and surviving, well, Survivor.
Oh, that makes sense. Do you think there could have been pressure from outside too? Like dealing with all those comments about looking like father and son?
Oh my God, totally. Can you imagine constantly having to defend your relationship? Like Chris mentioned, people assumed he was just with Bret for money, or that cashier thinking they were father and son buying a Christmas tree together. That's gotta wear on you over time, right? Even if you joke about it.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts sometimes.
Exactly. And you know what's really interesting? Neither of them is really throwing the other under the bus here. They're not saying, oh, he was too controlling or he was too immature. It genuinely seems like they just, like, realized they wanted different things, which is so mature, but also like so sad because it means there's no villain to blame, you know?
That's actually really profound. Sometimes relationships just run their course.
Right? And maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what both of them needed. Bret got to experience this amazing relationship after 47 years of waiting, and Chris got an incredible first serious relationship to learn from. Like, sometimes people come into our lives for a season, not a lifetime, and that's okay.
So, what are they both up to now? I mean, after a breakup like this, do they just go back to their separate lives or what?
Well, that's actually really interesting. So Chris, he's embracing the single life down in Florida, like he's living his best post-relationship glow-up, you know? He actually bought his own apartment and everything.
Oh, that's a big step. Is he doing okay with living alone?
He's totally thriving. In his YouTube video, he literally said, "It's my first time living alone. I kind of love it." Though he did mention he's not like super thrilled about those Florida summers. I mean, who would be, right? The humidity is just, it's brutal.
Oh, I can imagine. What about his content creation? Is he still doing that?
Oh my God, yes. He's actually planning to return to weekly YouTube uploads, which is great for his fans. And he even made this joke about hitting twink death at 25, saying he needs to hit the gym to keep his brand alive. Like, can you even? If Troye Sivan can still rock the twink aesthetic, StanChris definitely can too.
That's hilarious. What about Bret? Is he okay?
Bret's back in Boston, probably focusing on his career again. You know, at 51, he's still absolutely a catch. I wouldn't be surprised if his DMs are already filling up with like eager admirers trying to shoot their shot, you know what I mean?
I bet. Do you think they'll stay in touch at all?
That's the most surprising part. Chris actually hinted that they might be friends again someday. He said something like, "I'm sure eventually I could even get him back for another video in a year or something." So like, they're keeping things really cordial, which is honestly so refreshing to see in the age of messy public breakups.
Wow, that's actually really mature of them.
Right? I mean, they're handling this with more grace than most reality stars could even dream of. And honestly, I'm rooting for both of them to find whatever makes them happy next. Whether that's a new relationship or just, you know, focusing on themselves for a bit.
I love that they can look back on their time together without regrets.
Absolutely. Chris literally said, "I love all the memories that I have with Bret. I don't regret it at all." And that's such a healthy perspective to have after a breakup, especially for someone so young. It shows real emotional maturity.
So, what do you think it is about this breakup that's got everyone so invested? Like, why do we care so much about these two?
You know what I think? I think it's because they represented something like really special to a lot of people. They were this couple that defied expectations, right? The age gap, the different backgrounds, they made it work for nearly 4 years, and it gave people hope, you know?
I guess it's also a reminder that even relationships that look perfect on Instagram can come to an end.
Exactly. And that's actually the reality of love sometimes. Like, even the best relationships don't always make it to that finish line, right? But it doesn't mean the journey wasn't worth it. I mean, Bret waited 47 years to find something this good, and for Chris, it was his first serious relationship. That's powerful stuff.
Oh, did you see that bit in the article about Chris being in DC for World Pride?
Oh my God, yes! That's gonna be absolutely wild. There's even this little hint that he might connect with the Senate twink for some kind of Capitol expose. Like, the district drama tea never stops brewing, does it?
Never. I wonder if Bret will make an appearance too.
Wouldn't that be something? But you know what? Regardless of what happens next for them, I think they've given us this beautiful example of how to end things with grace. And sometimes loving someone means knowing when to let them go, right?
That's so true. Well, that's all the time we have for today's district drama. Please make sure to like and follow us on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in.